auspicious dates you were talking about. Black History Month still going on as well.
Thank
It's
you very
February,
much.
right?
Yeah.
So what a beautiful thing that it's all coinciding here in the month of February, and it's a great pleasure to be here. I really appreciate it, and Homesite is so proud to partner with you and to be a part of what you're doing.
Homesite is partnering with me. It's the first one I've had in forever and ever and ever. Ever, ever. Thank you for doing that.
What an honor.
Would you all explain what it is you all do?
So Homesite has been around since 1990. We're what you call a Community Development Financial Institution, CDFI. CDFIs were created back in the 1960s, really with the purpose of putting capital back into under-resourced communities. And where Homesite comes in across the state is we help low and moderate income families across the state of Washington grow generational wealth through home ownership, with a particular focus on communities of color. And that really goes back to redlining, racially restrictive covenants that denied folks of color, particularly African American families, that opportunity. So our role is to really jumpstart that work and get families in the way of creating that generational wealth for themselves, their kids, and their grandkids. It's a beautiful thing we do, and we love it.
Did you ever experience that? Yourself, you're a homeowner. I'm not, but you're a homeowner. Did you experience? Because you've been here for 30 blah 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 years. Right?
I'm an old timer.
Yeah, right.
Well, you know, one thing I did experience though, where I grew up in Englewood, New Jersey, was the home I grew up in was owned by my mom and dad, but only because my mom was able to purchase that home because her employer actually signed for the mortgage and turned it over to my mother, and so for generations, Black folk especially, have had to do workarounds, you know, figure out ways in and around a system that frankly was denying them the opportunity to become homeowners. And so we got real good at this, right? My grandfather in Jersey was able to own his home because he was a home builder and had a lot of skills, but he wasn't entitled to the GI Bill after World War II like so many Black soldiers. But he made a deal with his employer that he would buy the house he was working on from that builder. So that's the story for a lot of Black folk across the country. And so when we come back to what CDFIs do and what Homesite does, is we try to take a system that frankly was denying opportunity and create opportunities for families through down payment assistance, homebuyer education, counseling, all the things we do to make a difference.
I was just looking at some stats that I was given in preparation to talking with you. That 34% of Black home ownership, that's Black people that own homes, that's 34%
Correct.
of the population, and it's significantly lower than 68 to 69% for white households.
Exactly. And the really terrible thing about that particular stat is it's actually worse today, the home ownership rates, than it was pre-1968, when it was perfectly legal to discriminate against Black folks and others, I might add. So we've gone the wrong direction in Washington State, and in a state that is so beautiful, has so many resources. Clearly we need to do some things differently.
And it says here that we're trailing the national average. So we're doing worse here.
We're doing worse here in King County, Seattle, Washington, than we are in other parts of the country in terms of home ownership. When we think about that home ownership piece, what that represents really is the ability to send kids to college, to start a business, to be able to survive a catastrophic health emergency. So there's a lot that's tied up with that ownership piece.
I think, that I don't plan retiring from here, but if I needed to retire, I'm SOL.
Well, we got to work on that. We're going to work on that.
We gonna work on it, y'all. This is actually where I'm living now. We're broadcasting from my home, and this is the first home that I've lived in with a partner in my entire life. Mm-hmm. I didn't grow up that way in Chicago. I've always had roommates, and we've only been living here for 2 years. So,
one other thing that is interesting from our perspective is folks are starting much later in life in home ownership, and that's reflective of the fact that people aren't walking around with a bag of money behind them, so that down payment that a bank would require, Homesite requires a much, much lower. We require 1% down from the purchasers we're helping, right? And we use a lot of down payment assistance, a variety of sources to be that that kind of friends and family, that soft landing, if you will, to help people across the finish line, because it's really difficult. Who has that kind of money laying around where they can put 20 and 30% down on a home in Seattle or King County?
Right. In any neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I also understand that you are a musician.
I kind of took the family vocation, which was playing jazz drums, and I got caught up in the theater. So I moved to Seattle to work in the theater, but I come from a jazz musician family.
And you acted in the theater as well as produced and directed?
Only as an actor, yeah. I retired in about 1996 from the theater, but I did work in and around Seattle quite a bit.
So you moved here in 1992.
92.
What did you think of Seattle when you moved here?
Oh, I loved it. It was so beautiful, and I came from the Bay Area, and it was so so wide open here. You know, it felt like there was a lot of opportunity, and the green, just beautiful. The mountains, the lakes, gorgeous place.
I've described it. This is the most fertile place I've ever lived. Particularly, coming from Chicago, there's a lot there, but I don't think it was easy for me to take advantage of opportunities.
Exactly.
Here. When the door was open in the 80s.
Yeah.
And then it kind of slammed shut. You're a drummer?
Yes, indeed.
I see here, I am actually playing Stolen Moments in the background.
Oh, nice.
With Eric Dolphy. And you have family to play with Eric Dolphy?
I do indeed. My uncle Buster is on a couple of really famous Dolphy albums, one called the Berlin Concerts. Check it out, y'all. Beautiful work when he toured Europe with Eric Dolphy. He also played with Julian Priester, who's kind of local hero here in Pacific Northwest. And when I used to go home to New Jersey, my uncle would always kind of growl, "How's Julian? You see Julian?" So I never really saw Mr. Priester, but I always would get tickled.
He's got a homebody. But I see his wife is still alive, Petunia, is she not?
I believe so.
We have to call people and check, but this is not good for us.
Exactly.
Me and you, we need to check in.
We need to check because you don't know.
With everybody.
But growing up around the music was really powerful. My dad's younger brother, Marvin Boogaloo Smith, who's still playing and still alive, played with a lot of really amazing people that I got the opportunity to see, like Archie Shepp and Sun Ra. There's a new documentary on Sun Ra coming out, and so I got to see my uncles play with Sun Ra, both of them.
I just got to DJ with the orchestra band at a rave space.
Ooh,
like I said, it was all of the things. Trust and believe it was. You've done this work for how long?
I've been ED of Homesite, Executive Director of Homesite, for 6 years now, and it is truly the most joyous, important work of my life. And the fact that we help so many different communities across Washington State.
You're statewide.
We are statewide as a lender. Yeah, we do place-based economic development work right here in Rainier Valley in South Seattle. We put on, we have a festival coming up we do every year called Plate of Nations, which is like Bite of Seattle for South Seattle.
Yes.
It's amazing. And so we do a lot of work right here in the community. We're a developer. We build homes, and everything we build is really to help families build that generational wealth, to become owners.
And you were the architect behind Columbia City block parties, is that right?
It was called Columbia City Beat Walk.
Gotcha. They're still doing it.
They're still doing it.
Yeah,
30 years in, I can't believe it.
And I get to DJ for them.
That's pretty fabulous.
It's full circle, y'all. It is. It's full circle. Well, let's see. I think we're gonna put up the Homesite connections on our website. It's called Homesite, and if you or anybody that you know is thinking of making a transition to home ownership, and particularly if you're a POC, I encourage you highly to contact Homesite. And do they need to talk to you, or do they call Daryl Smith?
They can get in touch, and I will put them in touch with our team.
You busy? You gonna be able to talk to all these people?
Well, they can email me, but I love to pick up the phone too. So be in touch.
Right on. Daryl Smith of Homesite, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I've got Oliver Nelson doing Stolen Moments in the background. You're listening to 90.3 KEXP in Seattle, 92.7 KEXP in the Bay Area, and KEXP.org everywhere else.